Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in, and let's get right into another recap here. So today is Friday, and overall, the Nasdaq had a pretty solid day to end on Friday, actually. So right around here is when the market was opening up, and immediately just heading into the market open during the pre-market, I was just aware of the fact that the Nasdaq was uptrending. Right, it was showing signs of growth because it was trading between this SMA line here. It was using it as a support and the top VWAP here, right? And it was consistently making these higher lows and higher highs. It progressively kept climbing higher and higher, right? So right around here when the market was opening up, I initially looked again to TQs, right? And that's pretty much all I was focusing on today, or it's all I traded, right? I was up $38 on the day in terms of my day trading, and that's all I day traded, right? You'll see I only day traded TQs, and you'll see Roblox here for a sec, but that was a little mistake, and I'll explain that in a bit. But right since the market opened up, I was getting in TQs, and I was looking to really only focus on that until direction told me otherwise, that it didn't want to keep uptrending, right? Until the direction wanted to break this pattern and break below this SMA line, right? And stop validating it as an uptrending pattern. So right around here when the market opened up, I bought the TQs, and as it started climbing, I added. And unfortunately today, I ended up getting put in a bad spot right around here, because if you guys saw, I would buy in and average up, and then I would cut the trades, buy in and cut them if I thought they were going my way, right? If they popped a little too aggressively or something like that. But for the most part today, the biggest trade I would say was right around here. The market ended up pulling back to the blue EMA line right here, and I wanted to buy into TQs again, right? Because I saw that anytime it pushed up, it was looking like it wanted to use it now as a support and continue to uptrend. And right around here, I decided to buy in, and I decided to average in, right? You guys can check timestamps right around here. And the unfortunate part was when I was looking to sell, because if you guys will notice, this was the last trade I took at 7:02, right? I ended up averaging up 2 more times into my trade. And on TQs, if you look at the timestamp, right, just remind you guys it's right here. At 7:02 in the morning, TQs was right around here, right? It had just broken above the blue EMA line here, and it started to climb again, another leg up. So I averaged up, right? I added 2 more quarters of my position, so I was in with $7,500. And we did end up getting this pullback, which I did hold through. And the reason why was because I told myself that it would only make sense to sell, in my opinion, if we broke the uptrending pattern and really broke below this support level here, right? And started to actually downtrend, because anywhere around here, it could still try and find a support around the same level, right? As you'll see, it did. And so I held through this support, right? I was going to cut it if it felt like around this area, like below this support level it formed around here towards the EMA. And if it fell below here, only then I would have sold. So I had some wiggle room, and I put myself in a good spot in terms of risk to reward. If I got stopped out around here, because I ended up putting myself in a good spot, being green on the day, I would have if it fell all the way down here, and I was already in with $7,500, right? I would have been down maybe $30 on the day. And if it started to really go my way, I would be up a lot, right? And you guys will right now see the unfortunate part, but I held through this part, and at 7:02, I walked away from the computer, and I actually had to go walk my dog. So I usually don't do that, and I brought my phone with me, and that's why you'll notice at 7:35, right? The market I saw on my phone started to really pop, and I wanted to lock it in once it broke this high, and it basically pushed up right around here, because that was my target sell area initially. I wanted to sell around 15,840, and that's why when it pushed up around here, I was still holding, right? And it ended up coming back down and putting me in the red, and fortunately found a support. But that's why I wanted to get that extra little push right to my target area. And a lot of people might think that's greedy, and it definitely can be looked at that, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't sell too early, right? I stuck with my plan. And once we got this big pop here, I literally try to go sell on my phone, and I'm not used to it. And yeah, it sounds like an excuse, but I accidentally sold out of Roblox, right? And right after that, I ended up trying to sell out of TQs, but just that little wait in like a minute or two, TQs had already dropped a little significantly, right? So I ended up losing like $20 to $30 off that selling late, but it's not a big deal. And I did end up buying Roblox like right after I realized I'd made that mistake, but it was pretty fortunate because Roblox did recover from where I bought in. I was up like an extra 20, so I basically made it back, but not in terms of my day trading, right? So I would have been up around $60 there, and I would have locked that in and looked for a potentially another trade later on if I had the time. And unfortunately, I didn't. But yeah, I hope just walking through my trades with you guys can start getting a sense of what I look for in trading. One of the biggest things is direction, and I really look to just focus on one side, right, with direction until I get confirmation that the pattern no longer wants to uptrend. So just to remind you guys, what would I have needed to have seen in order for me to want to get into SQs? Well, ideally, I would have wanted to see the Nasdaq start to actually fall below this green SMA line here, and even push beyond that and fall below the middle VWAP and really start making these lower lows and lower highs. And on top of that, I want to just see the Nasdaq start to use the blue EMA line here as a resistance rather than a support, because you'll see that it makes sense that the areas the Nasdaq started to fall, you'll notice, is when the Nasdaq starts to use the blue EMA line here as a resistance, right? It's not using it to hold above it anymore, but once it breaks below, it's using it as a resistance and gets rejected off of it, right? Instead, every time it approaches it. So you'll notice that when that started to happen, right, when the Nasdaq really broke below, it started to put some fear in the market, in my opinion. And that's what you'll see leads to these lower lows and lower highs, right? Because a lot of people are seeing the market is starting to fade out, and on top of that, the tech stocks are all dropping, right? Leading to this just bearish pattern now. And it's not until you'll notice again we get a clear break above the blue EMA line, right? A clear break above, where you'll actually start to see a potential change of direction, which you did start to see, right? So it's looking out for little things like that. But yeah, I hope that made sense. And yeah, thank you guys all so much for tuning back in, and I'll see you guys all next week. Take care.